There is a difference between a song that topped the chart and a song that owned an entire year. Today, a track can hit number 1 on a Tuesday and disappear by the weekend. Streaming moves that fast. Attention moves that fast. But in the 1960s, radio didn't work that way. If a song connected, really connected, it didn't leave. It stayed on every station, in every car, in every room for months at a time until it stopped being a song and became the sound of the year itself, the sound of a whole season of people's lives. That is what this list is, not the biggest hits of the decade, not the most critically praised, the most played song of every single year, 1960 through 1969. The records that people held on to so hard that an entire year bent around them. And some of the stories behind how these songs got there will surprise you. Before we're done, you'll hear about a number 1 guitar riff recorded by accident in the middle of the night, followed by 45 minutes of the man who wrote it snoring on tape. You'll hear about a song built in a flat above a leather goods shop using a flushed toilet and a tape machine running backwards. And you'll hear about a record the FBI investigated for months, slowed down, sped up, run through every piece of equipment they had, trying to decode what the singer was saying. 10 years, 10 songs. Every one of them earned its place the same way because people heard it and refused to let it go. Let's go back to 1960, number 10, The Twist, Chubby Checker, 1960.
And go like this.
Most songs find their audience. The Twist found everybody, not just teenagers, not just one crowd, everybody. Your grandmother, the man in the suit at the bar, the couples at dinner parties who hadn't danced in years, everybody twisted. That had never happened with a rock and roll record before, and it happened immediately. But here's what almost nobody knows. Chubby Checker didn't write it. He wasn't even the first to record it. The original belonged to a rhythm and blues singer named Hank Ballard, who buried it on a B-side in 1958, where it nearly vanished completely. Dick Clark heard something in it, brought Checker in to cut a new version, and the session lasted roughly 35 minutes. 3 takes. Checker did such a precise Hank Ballard impression that when Ballard heard the finished record on the radio, he genuinely believed he was listening to his own voice. That cover hit number 1 in September 1960, knocked Elvis Presley off the top spot, and crossed every quiet line that rock and roll had operated within. The dance was so immediate, so simple, that adults who had never moved to rock music couldn't stay still. Nightclubs, dinner parties, eventually, the White House. Billboard later named it the most successful single in the entire history of its charts, a record it held for over 60 years.
And go like this.
Was there ever a song that made your body move before your brain made a single decision? For a whole country, in 1960, that was The Twist. Every time, without fail. From a song that moved the entire country, we go to one that felt built for driving alone at night and sounded like the future arriving from somewhere no one could name. Number 9, Runaway, Shannon. 1961, late night. A M radio, that particular hiss between stations that made everything sound more honest, more alone. Like the music was coming through specifically for you and nobody else in the world. That was Runaway. Shannon wrote it about something real. An argument, a falling out. The specific feeling of watching someone leave and not being able to stop it. He couldn't shake the feeling. The song sounds exactly like that. Like a man trying to outrun something that keeps catching up no matter how fast he drives. What separated it from everything else on radio in 1961 was the solo, not guitar, a keyboard instrument called the Musitron, a homemade device Shannon and his bandmate Max Crook built themselves, producing a wavering, almost electronic sound that rock music had never heard before. There was nothing to compare it to because nothing like it existed yet. Just that sound, cutting through the night on your car radio like a signal from somewhere you had never been. Runaway hit #1 in April 1961 and stayed 4 weeks. Shannon later became one of the first Western artists to cover a Beatles song, recording From Me to You in 1963, months before most of America had any idea who the Beatles were. He heard what was coming before almost anyone else did. He built that instrument himself, sat down with it, and played something the world had never heard. That one detail is the whole story. From something built with his own hands, we go to a record built from outer space and a flushing toilet. Number 8, Telstar, Tonk. The Tornadoes, 1962. In July 1962, a satellite called Telstar crossed the sky and beamed the first live television signal across the Atlantic Ocean. A British record producer named Joe Meek watched the launch and made one decision on the spot. That feeling belonged on a record. He didn't book a professional studio. He went upstairs, a cramped flat above a leather goods shop in North London. That hovering, weightless melody that makes the record sound like it's transmitting from somewhere above the clouds came from a rare keyboard called the clavioline. And that burst of rocket noise at the very top of the record, Joe Meek recorded a toilet flushing and ran the tape backwards. The Tornadoes weren't convinced. The public had no such doubts. Telstar hit #1 in America in December 1962, so not be the first record by a British band to top the American chart. A full year before the Beatles, it sold over 5 million copies worldwide and put British rock in American ears before most Americans knew British rock was coming. The ending is brutal. A plagiarism lawsuit locked every cent the record earned from the moment it went to #1. The case dragged for years. Joe Meek, the man who pointed at a satellite launch and decided it belonged in a pop song, died in 1967 without collecting a single cent in royalties. He left behind proof that one person with a tape machine and a completely unhinged idea could hear something in the sky and turn it into something 5 million people needed to own. #7, Louie, the Kingsmen, 1963. Some records shouldn't work. Every technical reason says no. And then the audience says yes, louder than anything the technicians had to offer. The Kingsmen recorded Louie in one take, one session, one microphone hanging from the ceiling of a tiny Portland studio for around $50. The singer was wearing braces and couldn't reach the mic, so he strained upward the entire time. Which is why the vocals sound like they're being sung from the next room. He comes in bars too early at one point, realizes it mid-line, and scrambles to recover. They left every single mistake in. The record did nothing on release. Then a Boston DJ played it on air as a joke. Worst record of the week, he announced. His listeners called back, demanding to hear it again, not because they loved it, because nobody could decode what the singer was saying. Rumors spread fast. The governor of Indiana called it pornographic and tried to have it banned statewide. The FBI opened a formal investigation, ran the tape for months at multiple speeds with specialized equipment. Their official conclusion: the lyrics were simply impossible to understand. The actual lyrics were about a sailor missing his girl. Louie peaked at number 2. But its influence towers over everything that beat it. That $50 sound on raw, imperfect, barely holding together became the blueprint for garage rock and everything punk would eventually become. It didn't succeed despite its mistakes. It succeeded because of them. Every kid who heard it realized that maybe they could do this too. We're halfway through the decade. Before we get to the 5 songs that didn't just own a year but permanently changed what rock was allowed to be. That guitar riff recorded beside 45 minutes of its creator snoring is still coming. Stay with me. Number 6, I Want to Hold Your Hand. The Beatles, 1964. There are moments in music where you can feel the ground shift, not metaphorically. You actually feel it. Something moves in your chest, and the world on the other side of the song is different from the world that existed before it started. February 1964 was that moment. The Beatles' American label had reviewed the material and passed on it more than once. Then someone leaked a copy to radio. DJs started playing it. No legal letter was going to make them stop. Capitol surrendered and rushed the single out the day after Christmas, 1963. 250,000 copies in 3 days. 1 million copies within 2 weeks. February 1st, number 1. 7 straight weeks. Then, February 9th, The Ed Sullivan Show. 73 million people watching. The largest American television audience ever recorded to that point. When it was over, the dividing line between before and after was so sharp that everyone alive that night could feel exactly which side they were now standing on. By the close of 1964, it was the most played song in all of America for the entire year. Not because it was handed anything, but because it sounded more alive than everything sharing the radio with it. America had never heard anything that felt that awake. And once they did, nothing before it was ever quite enough again. What came next didn't just sound alive. It sounded like a band that had completely stopped asking for permission.
Before we continue, can I ask you for a small favor? There's something I honestly don't understand. Only about 10% of the people who watch Nostalgia Rock YT are actually subscribed. That means more than 90% of viewers enjoy the videos, listen to the music, relive the memories, and then leave without subscribing. And if I'm being honest, that can be a little heartbreaking, because these videos don't just appear. Every upload takes hours of research, fact-checking, script writing, editing, and preserving the stories behind the music we all love. We do all of that because these songs deserve to be remembered. So when thousands of people watch and enjoy the content, but only a few take a second to subscribe, it sometimes feels like the work is being appreciated, but the people behind it are being forgotten. If this channel has ever helped you rediscover a song, relive a memory, or simply made your day a little better, please take 1 second to subscribe. It's completely free, but it's the biggest way you can support what we do. Every subscription encourages us to keep going, keep creating, and keep preserving the music that means so much to all of us. Thank you for being here. Now, let's get back to the music.
Number 5, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. The Rolling Stones. Why it's 1965. By 1965, rock had unspoken limits. Satisfaction walked straight through every single one. Keith Richards woke up in a Florida motel room in the middle of the night with a melody already in his head, half asleep. He grabbed the tape recorder on the nightstand, played the riff once, mumbled a few words, and went back to sleep. The next morning, he found 30 seconds of the most famous guitar riff ever recorded, Sanogoy Gedeka, followed by 45 minutes of himself snoring. and he wanted to scrap the whole thing. He had run the riff through a fuzz box only as a placeholder, a rough marker for where a horn section would go in the finished version. He thought the tone was wrong. He wanted it gone. Every other person in the room refused. They heard something in that grinding, buzzing sound that Richards couldn't hear from inside it, something that felt genuinely dangerous, something that mattered. That placeholder became one of the most recognizable sounds in all of recorded music. Satisfaction hit
And when I touch you, I feel happy.
number 1 on July 10th, 1965, the Stones' first American chart topper, and held 4 weeks. Back in Britain, only pirate radio stations anchored offshore would dare play it. The song didn't succeed because it was carefully designed. It succeeded because it was an accident that told the truth about exactly where the Stones were, a band that had completely stopped asking anyone what was allowed. In 1965, that sound was everything. Number 4, Good Vibrations, The Beach Boys, 1966. In 1966, most rock records were built the same way. A band walked into a room together, played the song, and walked out with something finished. Brian Wilson looked at that process and decided to do something else entirely. Good Vibrations was recorded in fragments, separate sections captured across 17 sessions in 4 different studios in Los Angeles, then assembled like a filmmaker cutting scenes in an editing room. 90 hours of tape, 4 months of work. That hovering, weightless tone running through the whole record came from an instrument called the electro theremin, played by the very man who helped construct it. By the time it was finished, the production cost had reached an estimated $50,000, the most expensive pop single ever made to that point. Wilson called the finished record his Pocket Symphony. When it hit number 1 in December 1966, it didn't just sit at the top of the chart. It permanently expanded what people believed a pop single was capable of. Listeners couldn't explain technically what was happening. They just knew something extraordinary had gone into every second of it. And that feeling made them play it again and again and again. Was there ever a record where you could feel the craft before you could name it? Where you knew without being told that someone had poured everything they had into every single second? 17 sessions later, Brian Wilson had built something nobody else had the patience or the madness to even attempt. Number 3, Ta Tanaigin, Light My Fire. The Doors, 1967.
Girl, we couldn't get much higher.
Summer, windows down, the kind of night where the air feels like possibility, where you're young enough to believe that feeling is permanent and a song on the radio can make the whole night feel like it was built specifically for this exact moment. That was Light My Fire for the summer of 1967. But
Girl, we couldn't get much higher.
most people don't know who actually wrote it, not Jim Morrison. The music came from guitarist Robbie Krieger, one of the very first songs he ever brought to the band. Ray Manzarek built the Bach-influenced organ introduction around it. John Densmore put a Latin rhythm underneath. The album version ran past 7 minutes. A producer trimmed it to under 3 for radio. It hit number 1 on
No time to wallow in the
July 29th, 1967, and held 3 weeks, the first chart topper in Elektra Records history. Then came The Ed Sullivan Show. The band was told to replace the word higher over drug concerns. They agreed in rehearsal. Live on national television, Morrison sang the original word and held the camera the entire time. They were never invited back. Krieger said years later that Morrison may simply have been so deep inside the performance that the rehearsed change stopped existing for him. He sang what he knew. That makes the moment more human, not less. A man so fully inside the music that compromise couldn't survive contact with the stage. Was there ever a performance you watched knowing, even in that moment, that something unrepeatable was happening right in front of you? Number 2, Hey Jude, The Beatles, 1968. 1968 was a hard year to carry. Assassinations, war, a country pulling at its own seams. And somewhere in the middle of all that weight, Paul McCartney got into a car to check on a 5-year-old child. Julian Lennon's parents had just separated. McCartney made the drive because someone should, not because anyone asked him to.
Greatest tea room orchestra in the world. It's my pleasure to introduce now in their...
He started writing behind the wheel. The working title was Hey Jules. He changed it before the session because Jude felt better when he sang it aloud. The finished record ran 7 minutes and 11 seconds, at a time when radio wouldn't touch anything past 3 minutes. Stations played it anyway because listener demand left them no other option. First release on the Beatles' own Apple label. 36-piece orchestra entered the American chart at number 10 and reached number 1 in 2 weeks. 9 consecutive weeks at the top. The longest run any Beatles single ever achieved in America. It closed 1968 as the most played song in the entire country. A song that long about something that personal, built for one frightened child on a car ride, had no business becoming the biggest thing on radio. But it did, because it was the most honest thing on radio that year. Every person who heard it felt somewhere quiet that it had been written specifically for them. That's what Hey Jude left behind, not a chart record. A feeling of being seen in a year that made that very hard to find. 1968 ended with warmth. 1969 kicked the door straight off its hinges. Number 1, Honky Tonk Women, The Rolling Stones, 1969. Every decade has a last note, a final song before the calendar turns and everything that came before becomes history. The 1960s got the one they deserved. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards didn't write Honky Tonk Women in a studio. They weren't in London. They were on a cattle ranch in the Brazilian countryside listening to Hank Williams records, playing loose country songs with no particular plan. What started as a rough, easy country tune got carried back to England, run through the full band, and transformed into one of the most swaggering rock singles ever pressed onto vinyl. It carried a weight everyone in the room could feel. This was the first Rolling Stones single to feature Mick Taylor, the new guitarist who had stepped in for Brian Jones, the founding member, the man who built the band from nothing. Jones died on July 3, 1969, and the single came out days later. The record that opened the next chapter was also the last one Jones never heard. Honky Tonk Women hit number 1 for 4 weeks in America and 5 weeks in Britain. It closed the 1960s the only way that decade could be closed. Loud, swaggering, looking forward, not back. A decade that gave the world a $50 recording investigated by the FBI, a guitar riff born half asleep in a Florida motel room, a number 1 built from a toilet played backwards, a song written for a frightened 5-year-old that held number 1 for 9 weeks. 10 records that didn't just play on radio. They became the years themselves. The 1960s didn't end gently. They went out exactly as they arrived and on their own terms, with the volume all the way up. 10 years, 10 songs, not one of them got there the easy way. Every single one arrived unexpected, survived something, or succeeded for reasons nobody predicted. That's what this decade was, right? Not a machine producing hits on schedule, but But a 10-year stretch where music fought its way into people's lives, refused to leave, and eventually became part of who those people were. These weren't just songs. They were the soundtrack to versions of yourself you can't quite get back to. But you remember exactly what they felt like. The car, the room, the night. The person you were when the first note started. So here's what I want to know before you go. Which one of these songs belongs to a specific moment in your life? A night, a summer, a road. You can still feel the second that song comes on. Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. The 1970s are already waiting.